The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
And hello again, wrestling fans. Welcome to another edition of This Week in History. This is our final podcast of 2021, and I want to thank you guys for supporting us, whether it's been on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcasts from, or watching the video version of this on YouTube and Facebook. I want to thank you for everything this past year and encourage you to share with your friends and get them on board to build this up bigger in 2022. We're looking to bring back the regular podcast in 2022. Stephen is moving back to London and might be having some time on his hands, and we'll see what goes on with the regular podcast with news. But, of course, we're keeping you going each and every week with This Week in History. This week, we have a lot of title changes, and, of course, because it's the end of December, a lot of Starcade events from WCW. So we're going to be looking at all that, and birthdays, and some people who unfortunately passed away, along with title changes, and a little look at some Monday Night Wars for one of the weeks. But we can't do that until we head over to Niagara Falls and welcome in Jonesy, who came up with the original list. How are you this evening?
You know, it's funny you mentioned Steve might be moving back to London. We're actually thinking of moving. We've looked at a few places. Of course, I just forgot of the place. Parts Unknown. That's the one place we've been looking at. Other places, of course, is Death Valley. That's a very popular place.
And you could always meet up with Damien Demento in the outer reaches of your mind.
Yes, that's another good one. I think there's some others. I'm trying to think of them all, but
yeah. So maybe we'll look at some of the best places to live as a wrestler, and maybe a future Fantasy Warfare when we bring that one back too. Mm-hmm. But we are here for history. So
some serious business.
Yeah, and this is our second week of our newer format. Before we were going day by day and through everything. Now we're kind of just sectioning off. This was big events going on. These were title changes. These are birthdays. So it's more a little compact, and then we'll deep dive into a couple things. So hopefully people are enjoying the new format. Let us know. Send us a message. All our contacts are below, whether you email us at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com or contact us on Facebook. But we're going to dive into our first topic, which is title changes, part one.
I don't like the new format because there's some fonts in here I just do not like. Anyways, yes, the title changes. December 26, 1983, 38 years ago today in New York City, the Iron Sheik defeated Bob Backlund via Arnold Scotland, Backlund's manager, threw in the towel while Bob was trapped in the camel clutch submission hold. The Sheik would end Backlund's over a decade championship run. And of course, there's a asterisk there. Shawn, what's the asterisk for?
I think it was questionable about how long his run was, but also the fact that, the title didn't get defended too often. You had it basically in the Northeast because that's where WWF territory was. And so you're doing places like Boston, Baltimore, I think was in there, Philadelphia, and, of course, New York. Now, of course, they go all over the place since Vince Jr., don't call him Junior, took over and went globalization and also took over North America. But at that time, they were just up there in the Northeast, and people held on to the titles a lot longer, including San Martino had it for a long time as well. So it's kind of questionable on the amount of time that they've held it. And then the sad part is the fact that this was December 26th of 83, and less than a month later, as I believe it was January 23rd, if not 24th of 84, that Hogan came marching into the Garden and took the title from the Sheik. So he was just a Unfortunately, have to say it, glorified transition.
It sure was. Kind of stunk for the Iron Sheik, but hey, at least he got to hold the championship for a couple of days.
And ever since then, and especially on social media, he's always saying, "Hulk Hogan, go fuck yourself."
December 26, 2004, Austin Aries defeated Samoa Joe to win the ROH World Championship. Also, December 26, 1988, Kevin Sullivan and Steve Williams defeated the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers to win the NWA US Tag Team belts. Also on the 26th, 1988, Rick Steiner defeated Mike Rotunda to win the NWA World TV belt.
Yeah, so a lot of title changes, and right there was the Varsity Club, basically.
Yes. And the Varsity, that was last week. We were talking about them. December 27th, 1988, 33 years ago today. Actually, that one we're not including.
Yep, it's there. It's there.
Oh, it is there. Oh, okay, it is there. In Las Vegas, Nevada, Greg Gagne defeated Adrian Adonis in the tournament final to become the first AWA International TV champion. And on the same show, Medusa Maselli defeated Candy Divine to win the AWA World Women's Championship. The title had been vacant for about 6 months when Sherry Martel, the previous champion, left for the WWF.
Yeah, and we'll, I think, talk about Medusa again later on with another title. It seemed to be she was the only woman, basically, to hold belts and had one opponent all the time. Like,
yep.
It's definitely not like how it is today, where you have so many women and so many titles now.
No, but I would say that when it's the same two women going at it, or even the same two men, a lot of times you'll get a better match. Because I'll tell you, I got to see not Medusa, London Blaze against Bull Nakano, and it was the best match on the card.
Yeah, well, when they're doing the same match all over the country for months on end, it better be good.
And I think before that, they went against each other in Japan or something.
Yeah, I think so.
December 27th, 1993, Ric Flair defeated Big Van Vader to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Now, had Flair lost, he would have been forced to retire. Originally, Sid Vicious was the opponent lined up for Vader, but he was involved in a stabby incident with Arn Anderson and was fired 2 months before the event. December 26, 1994, Vader defeated Hacksaw Jim Duggan to win the WCW United States Championship. December 29th, 1995, Ric Flair defeated Randy Savage to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship belt. And December 27th, 1998, in the main event of Starcade 98, Kevin Nash defeated the cattle-prodded Goldberg in a no DQ match to win the WCW World Belt. The win ended Goldberg's undefeated run in WCW at just over 15 months and a kayfabe 173 matches, give or take a few ones made up.
Yeah, that was a little bit bad considering, well, it was the main event of Starcade for starters, and you build this guy up so big and have him beat Hogan in the Dome, only for Scott Hall to come along and use a cattle prod on Goldberg and cost him everything. And then basically he went downhill from there.
Yeah, but the cattle prod thing, dumb. But hey, it's WCW. That's right. December 27, 2005, 16 years ago today at a SmackDown taping, Eminem, Joey Mercury, and Johnny Nitro defeated Batista and Rey Mysterio to win the WWE tag belts. It's the third time the duo won the tag titles in 2005. December 28th, 1997, DDP defeated Kurt Hennig to win the WCW US belt. And December 28th, 1997, Sting defeated Hollywood Hogan by submission to win the WCW World belt. Hogan had originally won the title with a badly executed fast count, but Bret Hart, who was acting as a referee, restarted the match. Stink would hook on the Scorpion Deathlock, and Hogan submitted. And we will be talking about that a little later on.
Yeah, you just ended up finishing watching it, the whole Starcade event in preparation for our conversation. And yeah, it was basically the beginning of the end.
Some birthdays to go through. We've got December 25th. Happy 35th to Rusev or Miro. I believe he's still in AEW.
Yep.
All right. December 27th as well. It's a happy 34th birthday for Andrew Andy Levine. Also on the 27th, it's a happy 41st birthday for Claudio Castane Leo. Oh man, I can't. Castagnoli. There we go. Known these days as Cesaro. A little bit about him. He was born in Lucerne, Switzerland in 1980. His training as a pro started in his homeland under Swiss wrestler Sigmasta Rappo. His debut was for the Germany-based WrestleSide Extreme Wrestling. He would also receive training from Dave Taylor. After wrestling as tag team Swiss Money Holding, Inc., he would meet Chris Hero and Mike Quackenbush, who invited Swiss Money Holding to the United States. Well, they, along with his tag partner, fellow Swiss wrestler and trainer Aries, would compete in IWA, Mid-South, and Shakira. Shakira. I think it's the same when I say that. Or Shakira, right?
Yeah, her hips don't lie.
After returning to Swissland, he would receive permanent U.S. residency in his first try at the Green Card Lottery, also known as the Diversity Immigrant Program over there. He would wrestle for many indie promotions, including Shakira, where in 2009 he teamed with Bryan Danielson and Dave Taylor as Team Uppercut. CZW, Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and others before landing in Florida Championship Wrestling with the WWE in 2011. By 2012, at the SummerSlam pre-show, he would win his first WWE title, winning the U.S. belt from Santino Marella. The Swiss-born Castagnoli is one of the more accomplished tag team wrestlers of the 21st century, including he, along with Sheamus, ended the New Day's record WWE tag team reign and claimed their first championship as a duo. He also had some singles success, winning the Westside Extreme Wrestling Unified World Wrestling Championship in 2003 and 4. The Pro Wrestling Guerrilla World Championship in 2010, and the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy for winning a 30-man battle royal at WrestleMania 30. He's one of those guys that is entertaining to watch. His strength is scary, and so is his stamina. Oh, man, I'm having trouble with words, as always.
Yeah, I was creating this slide that everybody who's watching visually can see, and it was just taking so long to get all of his accomplishments, especially in the tag teams, able to be put up there. Just on the one side with his independent stuff, CZW World Tag Team Champion 2 times with Chris Hero, Germany Wrestling the Tag Team Champion 2 times with Aries, then Juggalo Wrestling Tag Team Champion 1 time with Chris Hero, PWG World Champion 1 time, ROH World Tag Team Champions 2 times with Chris Hero. So a lot of combinations there are different places that the Kings of Wrestling end up going to. WXW, which I believe you can see on the network, he was 2-time World Heavyweight Champion for them, and WXW Tag Team Champion 3 times with Aries. And then, of course, you mentioned him going over to WWE, where we know him mostly today, and United States Champion 1 time, Raw Tag Team Champion 5 times, once with Tyson Kidd and 4 times with Sheamus as part of the Bar. And then he's won the SmackDown Tag Team titles twice, once with Sheamus and then Shinsuke Nakamura, and, of course, the Andre Memorial. That's a lot of stuff to try and stuff into one of these slides so people can still read it. And it's just amazing. At 41, he's been sort of pigeonholed as being this tag team wrestler and utility worker in a way that, like, say, a Sean Morley, Val Venus, or Sean Waltman, X-Pac were, where if you can get through Cesaro, you can move on to others. And it's good and bad at the same time, because then you're reliable too much in one aspect, but then you're not going anywhere further. So I'd love to see him back in the title scene. He had an amazing match with Roman Reigns earlier this year, which then they dropped as soon as that was over, because obviously with Roman's push they're doing. But he did put up a good fight with him, and worthwhile one top matches of this year.
Indeed. 2 more birthdays to go through. December 27th, it would have been the 52nd birthday for Joni Marie Lawler, best known to wrestling fans as Chyna. Also the 27th, it's a happy 55th birthday for William Bill Scott Goldberg. And also the 27th, it's a happy 58th birthday for Michael Polchalapek. Oh, I think I got it. Better known as one half of the Smoking Guns, Bart Gunn. And December 28th, 2 birthdays. It's a happy 36th birthday for Taryn Nicole Terrell, and a happy 68th birthday for Pursuo legend Tatsumi Fujinami.
Yeah,
all right, there's the birthdays for now, and we're going to move on to the Monday Night War.
Yeah, so this week we're
go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. This week we're looking back at the end of the year with December 30th, 1996. So it was 25 years ago tonight that this one happened between the two companies.
All right. So the December 30th, Raw, which took place at the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, New York. All the dark matches, we had Hector Garza defeat Nick Barberry. Mini Vader defeated Mascarita Segurata Jr. Jerry Lawler defeated Tony DeVito. The Undertaker defeated Psycho Sid, who was champion, by DQ. And Shawn Michaels defeated Steve Austin. And the matches that were actually on the show was Bret Hart and Savio Vega defeated Farouk and Steve Austin by DQ. Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeated Flash Funk in a non-titled match. And Jerry Lawler defeated Goldust by countout.
Yeah, this one actually, the matches were kind of long, and I believe we're still in a 1-hour era for Raw at this point. That's why all those lovely dark matches, including the 2-minute Shawn Michaels Steve Austin match that they had, because Austin then was out with Farouk, and that match actually started with Road Dogg or Jesse James as Savio's tag team partner. And something happened, and he got taken out, and Bret took his spot. And they were also going to be doing a confrontation between Bret and Shawn, because Bret had just gotten back into WWE, I think, just the month before at Survivor Series when he took on Austin. And he was not happy with Shawn, how he portrays himself as champion, even though he said he was going to be doing his championship run the same as what he in honor of Bret Hart, but Bret Hart never posed in Playgirl, and just some of the things that Shawn was doing was totally not Bret Hart. And I'm wondering if some of that was when some of the real life animosity started coming up between the two, which led for a wonderful 1997, mind you. But yeah, definitely getting close to Shawn losing his smile, probably within the next month or two. Because I think that was actually originally to set up for WrestleMania 13. There was supposed to be a rematch between Shawn and Bret, and these were supposed to be sowing the seeds, and didn't happen. The other matches were pretty good as well, with Hunter Hearst Helmsley taking on Flash Funk, but the background story was the issue with him and Goldust and Marlena. And he kidnapped Marlena during Goldust match with Jerry Lawler. Mark Morrow tried making a save. It was like a WCW mid-card going on in the main event of Raw at the time. But decent show for Raw in this 1 hour format with names that you wouldn't expect to, on paper, have a decent match with each other.
Mm-hmm. Over to Nitro, these matches, I'm not sure which ones are the dark matches and which ones aren't, so we'll just go through them.
I don't think they actually had dark matches. They were, I think, at 2 hours at the time, but on an hour before Raw. So you had a bunch of quick little matches on this one and a lot of talking and just, the end segment also was a talking one too, which...
All right. The matches, the amazing French Canadians, Carl Ouellet and Jacques Rougeau with Colonel Robert Parker defeated Public Enemy, Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock. The Ultimo Dragon with Sonny Ono defeated Jushin Thunder Liger to retain the J Crown Championship and the WCW World Cruiserweight belt. Conan defeated Michael Wall Street in a full four corners strap match. Hugh Morris defeated Kenzuki Sasaki with Sonny Ono via DQ. Harlem Heat defeated Ming and the Barbarian. Glacier defeated Disco Inferno. Chris Benoit defeated Chris Jericho. Octagoncito and Mascarita. Sagrata defeated Jarito Estrada and Piretier Morgan. Dean Malenko fought Rey Mysterio Jr., which ended in a time limit draw, and Lex Luger defeated Greg Valentine.
Yeah, the midgets, they ended up getting shifted over to WWE, so it was more of an attraction at that point. Obviously, seeing Jericho and Benoit go against each other is really good. Unfortunately, people had to sit through Glacier and Disco Inferno. Dear God. Yeah. But then to see that Luger and Greg Valentine were the main event, and it only lasted like 2 minutes. I can't imagine the fact that Greg Valentine was main eventing a show, but then there was still a lot of time left. And this was the night after Starrcade 96, and the Age in the Cage and Bischoff and Hogan were boasting about defeating Piper. Piper came out and went after them and called out the NWO. But then he disappeared, and Giant was still wanting to make sure that people knew that he won World War III and should be getting this title shot against Hogan. But I thought, making it look like it was going to be them using Giant as a placeholder to sort of keep the title safe for Hogan. And next thing you know, they're turning on the Giant at the end of the show, and he's going to get his title shot, obviously, since he's been just kicked out of the NWO. But yeah, the whole segment the show ended with a talking segment and the attack on the Giant.
Yeah, I guess you don't want too good of a match going into that.
Yeah, you got to bring them down, let them go to the washroom, and then come back.
That's right.
Greg Valentine and Luger, I guess, was your washroom break.
Moving on. Well, actually, so which would you say was the better program?
Well, I'm just looking at, other than the fact that they turning on the Giant, and a couple of the matches look good on paper, but I don't think they executed well on TV because of them doing commercials and everything that way. Raw actually had, I think, better matches in ring, surprisingly, considering the combinations like Farouk and Steve Austin as a tag team. And all of a sudden you have Brett and Savio as a tag team going against them. Like, it just worked well between the bells. Even though you had a bunch of characters, cartoony going on. WCW had the real people, but then they threw in the minis and stuff like that. So I would go with Raw.
All right.
Yourself?
Honestly, I'd probably would have watched Nitro over Raw just because, yeah, Bret Hart is great in that, but no offense, Farouk, Flash Funk, Jerry Lawler.
Like I said, on paper, it doesn't look good.
Like Jerry Lawler against Goldust. Like, okay, younger Lawler, fine. Older Lawler, no. And WCW usually, in my opinion, they had the better wrestlers. They had the better matches.
Yeah. Well, like this I had Harlem Heat against Ming and Barbarian, the Faces of Fear.
Yeah.
Benoit and Jericho, Malenko and Mysterio. Right there, 3 great matches.
But then they screwed it up with Luger and Valentine.
Yeah, and they screwed up with everything else put around it. If it had just been those 3 matches and then the turning of NWO and Giant, yeah. But I think next week, because we're going to talk about in the title changes, I think coming up, the Mankind title change, but that was pre-taped. And that's why it falls into this week. But next week, I think we can go back and look at that actual week with a taped Raw versus a live Nitro, and the infamous that will put butts in seats. Yeah, they compare.
Nice.
So I think that's going to be our Monday Night Wars look next week.
All right. We're going to go through some of the events. December 25th, 2004. First presented on Christmas night in 2003, which was 17 years ago. WWE's Tribute to the Troops was an annual show presented around Christmas as a thank you to the servicemen and servicewomen around the world. The show that was the brainchild of JBL and was presented in its first few years from Iraq before moving stateside in 2010, where the shows remained ever since. Also on the 25th, 1987, 34 years ago on Christmas Day in Texas, WCWA presented Christmas Day Massacre. The main event was WCWA champion El Perez versus Kerry Von Erich in a steel cage match with Gary Hart handcuffed to Fritz. The show was remembered for Fritz kayfabing a seizure and collapsing onto the floor and being rushed to hospital after being attacked by a group of goons led by Terry Gordy. The Dallas area media reported this as a top story, not realizing this was a work.
Hey, it wasn't a work. Wrestling is real. The rest of the world.
that could be part of why they news and that stopped doing reports on the real news is because of stuff like that.
Probably.
December 26, 1988, 33 years ago, WCW presented Starcade 88, True Grit. This is the first time Starcade would be held around the Christmas holiday. The first 4 were on Thanksgiving. This is also the first pay-per-view presented under the WCW name banner with new owner Ted Turner. Also on the 26th, 2004, 17 years ago, Ring of Honor presented Final Battle 4. On the 27th of 1983, 38 years ago, at a Wrestling at the Chase taping in St. Louis, Missouri, Hulk Hogan made his first return to the World Wrestling Federation with a win over Bill Dixon. Hogan had left the WWF in 1980 to film a small role in Rocky III. He went to the American Wrestling Association, where he would rise to national and international prominence, especially after the film's release in '82. Hogan would be the centerpiece of the WWF's expansion from regional territory to national promotion. Also debuting for the WWF during that taping would be AWA's longtime interviewer, Gene Okerlund. Okerlund would be the WWF's main interviewer until leaving the promotion in 1983.
And becoming Scheme Gene.
Scheme Gene.
Call the hotline, 909-9900.
I wasted so much money on that hotline. December 27th, 1993, 28 years ago, WCW presented Starcade 93, which is the 10th anniversary. So we're going to look at this one. It's the first Starcade since the NWA-WCW split was made official a few months earlier. We seen Ric Flair and Mean Gene doing a limo ride after visiting, I think, their house.
Yeah, the whole show revolved around the fact that Ric Flair was going to be going for the world title. He'd just come back to WCW. I'm going to say March-ish, February, March-ish of 93 after losing a loser must leave WWF match on Raw in January to Kurt Hennig. So then he's back in WCW and going for the title, but then it's supposed to be if he loses career as well. So it's a big night for him in that regards. Probably happened a bunch of times, but so Gene Okerlund made sure to follow him and be with him and interview him in that limo and at his home all the way to the arena and getting ready. So it was almost a pre-day of WWE sort of documentary happening actually on the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see Reed and Ashley and David Flair and even Conrad Thompson's wife, Megan.
Nice. The Shockmaster defeated King Kong, and those were the Killer Kongs that were twins. They were big boys. Rick Rude defeated the Boss to retain the WCW International World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, the International Championship that didn't last too long, but hey, at least Rick Rude got recognized as a World Heavyweight Champion. And of course, Ray Traylor with his multiple gimmick names after joining WCW, being the man, the boss, the guardian angel.
Yeah,
a road to
guardian angel. Steve Austin defeated Dustin Rhodes to zip in a best-of-3 falls match to win the WCW United States Championship.
Which is actually kind of a surprise. You find out you're going to see a 2 out of 3 falls match. You expect it's going to go 3 falls. And this went 2 straight falls. And it was Dustin Rhodes and Steve Austin. But hey, I like the surprise of the fact that it was 2 straight falls instead of the predictable having to go 3.
And we're not going through all the matches for this one. We're just really doing the big ones.
The main event.
Yeah. And the main event was Ric Flair defeating Big Van Vader to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And of course, had Flair lost, he would have been forced to retire, at least, one more retirement. Sid Vicious was originally the opponent lined up for Vader, but he was involved in the stabby incident. So there you go.
Yeah, definitely a Starcade worth going back and watching. And when I went to go and watch 97 today, it looked like WWE Network was actually playing Starcade 93 on regular time on the network. So.
Neat. Another one we're looking at here is December 27th, 1994. 27 years ago, WCW presented Starcade 94. Vader defeated Hacksaw Jim Duggan to win the WCW United States Championship. Alex Wright defeated Jean-Paul Levesque, of course, Triple H. Johnny B. Bad defeated Arn Anderson to retain the WCW World TV belt. And originally, Honky Tonk Man was supposed to face Johnny, but Honky was fired by WCW following a dispute with management prior to the event. Basically, Honky did not want to lose to Johnny, so they went on you. And a side note, Eric Bischoff, in his book Controversy Creates Cash, vowed never to use Honky Tonk Man ever again, and he never did. And that firing him was his favorite thing he'd ever done in WCW.
Yeah, he's mentioned that a few times on 83 Weeks when Ask Eric Anything, or when this event came up to be looked at. He just has a hate on for Honky.
Yeah. Mr. T defeated Kevin Sullivan, and Hulk Hogan defeated the Butcher to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this is one that, hey, I'd watch Johnny B. Bad go against Arn Anderson and Alex Wright against Jean Paul. Hell, I'd even watch Vader go against Hacksaw. But once you get the Mr. T and Hogan defeating the Butcher and the mate, come on, what a peak!
It paid to be Hogan's friend.
Oh,
sure.
All right, December 27th, 1995, 26 years ago today, WCW presented Starcade 95, which was the World Cup of Wrestling, featuring 7 WCW stars taking on 7 of New Japan Pro Wrestling's best. And that's one that I'd probably go back and watch because, hey, you got some good wrestlers in there, both from WCW and New Japan. December 27th, 1998, 23 years ago, WCW presented Starcade 98.
And we mentioned the main event on that one. I think enough is said.
Yeah, I can't remember. What was that main event?
Cattle Prod.
Oh, the Cattle Prod, yeah. And December 28th, 2008, which was 13 years ago, Ring of Honor presented Final Battle. And also on the 28th, 1992, 29 years ago, WCW presented another Starcade 92 Battle Bowl. And of course, we all know what Battle Bowl is all about. Names were drawn at random to form the tag teams and yada, yada, yada. And I like
the Battle Bowl concept. I would love to see it be brought back, maybe tweaked a slight bit, but because you can control the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm not sure if it was this one, but one of the Battle Bowls was one where Mean Gene Okerlund was very close to a Me Too movement on Fifi the Maid, which we all know is Wendy, Ric Flair's wife or common law wife now. But yeah, kind of creepy.
I thought they got married.
Actual. I'm not. Well, they had a commitment ceremony. I'm not sure.
Oh, commitment ceremony. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's an actual marriage or commitment ceremony, but they had. I think it was just a commitment ceremony. But she's still by his side after all the stuff that went through with his heart issues and almost dying.
Well, God bless Fifi for that.
Yep.
The finals of that Starcade Battle Bowl saw the Great Muta last and eliminate Barry Windham to win the Battle Bowl. Title changes. December 28th, 2000 saw on SmackDown, Chris Jericho and China went to a double pin for the WWF IC belt. They did the 2 referees counted those shoulders down for the 3 count bit. Today, the co-intercontinental title reign of China and Jericho is not recognized by WWE. It is considered vacant.
Yeah, during that time, they were going back and forth and defending it and being by each other's side and basically protecting each other from losing the co-holded belt. And I think it finally got decided. I'm not sure if it was at the Royal Rumble, but Bob Holly was also involved in that whole thing, and was a 3-way where they finally did decide who was going to be the Intercontinental Champion, which I think was Jericho.
Sure.
We'll look at that in upcoming weeks.
Yeah.
When it's finally decided.
We'll have the answer for that in a few weeks. December 29th, 1985, at NWA and AWA's event, Star Wars, Stan Hansen defeated Rick Martel by submission to win the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. Also on the 29th, but in 1995 at ECW Holiday Hell, Mikey Whipwreck defeated Too Cold Scorpio to win the ECW World Tag Team Championship and the ECW World Television Championship. Following the bout, Whipwreck chose Cactus Jack as his tag team partner. On the 29th of December, 1996, Ultimo Dragon defeated Dean Malenko to unify the WCW Cruiserweight and J-Crown Championships. And also on the 29th and 1996, Akira Hokuto defeated Medusa to win the WCW Women's Championship. She would be the only one recognized as the champion, even though Devil Masami won the vacated belt and the AAAW Single Championship in 97 versus women's wrestler Zero. Her 110-day reign was not recognized by WCW TV.
Isn't it good that is where the big girls play?
That is.
And why Medusa showed up to dump her WWF.
Now, did they say where the big girls play?
Yeah, Medusa used that because when she dumped the title, she said, "This is where the big boys play." Well, this is now where the big girls play.
But she's not a big girl.
Yeah.
Anyways, December 29th, 1996, Eddie Guerrero defeated DDP to win the vacated WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. And also on the 29th, but in 1997, on Nitro, Ultimo Dragon defeated Eddie Guerrero to win the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. And also on that same show, Booker T defeated the Disco Inferno to win the WCW World TV belt.
Disco Fever, Disco Fever.
2029 and 1998, 23 years ago, at a Raw's War taping, Mankind defeated The Rock to win the WWF Championship. This match indeed did put butts in the seat. Nitro tried to take advantage of Raw being pre-taped, but revealing the competition's title change was one of the moves that put WWE back on top of the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, as I said, next week we'll look at that episode because it actually got aired in January, even though Mick won the title just after Christmas.
December 29th, 2012, 9 years ago, at a Raw taping, Wade Barrett defeated Kofi Kingston to win the WWE IC belt. Also on the 29th, 2014, on Raw from Washington, D.C., the Usos defeated The Miz and Damien Mizdow to win the WWE Tag Team belts. And also December 30th, 1997, on a Raw is War taping, Jeff Jarrett defeated Barry Windham to win the NWA North American Heavyweight Championship. Also on the 30th, 2003, at a SmackDown taping, Rey Mysterio defeated Tajiri to win the WWE Cruiserweight belt. And a couple more to go through. December 30th, 2007, at Ring of Honor Final Battle, Eric Stevens defeated Roderick Strong to win the ROH World Heavyweight belt. And also on the 30th and 2007 as well, at the ROH Final Battle, the Age of the Fall, Jimmy Jacobs and Tyler Black defeated the Briscoe brothers to win the ROH World Tag Team belts. Lots of title changes that week.
Tyler Black, good old Seth Rollins. And of course, up front on that graphic here, you got Jim Cornette being by the side representing the NWA with Jeff Jarrett as the North American champion. And that was a very short-lived partnership between the NWA and WWF at that time. Who knows where it was going to go, but you had then Cornette doing the new Midnight Express with Bombastic Bob and Bodacious Bart, and Jeff Jarrett doing his return there. Not very good. They would have done better by just having Smoky Mountain do their thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Did I knock? No, I thought I knocked the thing behind me down. In memory of, we're going to go through some deaths. December 24th, 1988, a sad event in the history of wrestling in the Montreal territory occurred 33 years ago. Wrestler supper's coming up. Wrestlers Pierre Mad Dog Lefebvre and Tarzan the Boot Tyler, as well as referee Adrian Du Bois, died in a car accident on Christmas Eve in I can't say that word. Laurentian. That's
Laurentian Park.
Laurentian Park. All right. December 26, 1990, George Raymond Wagner, best known to many fans as the legendary Gorgeous George, died of a heart attack. He had suffered 2 days prior in Hollywood, California, and he was 48. We did have a lot on him, but for time, we're just going to skip him, and we've talked about him before, and I'm sure we're going to talk more about him.
His biggest thing is the fact that he was one of the first people to come with music. He was very influential in the mainstream of entertainment as well, and influenced a lot of people in music and in wrestling. And of course, one-time AWA World Heavyweight Champion in the Boston area, but then he's been in almost everybody's Hall of Fame, from Stampede Wrestling, Wrestling Observer Newsletter, Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and of course the WWF or WWE Hall of Fame. 48 years old and so influential. Surprised how much he got in that short time.
And in the 50s, he would get 50% of the gate for the events because he was that damn popular. And many would also credit George's showmanship as a part of their own careers. And look at these names: Muhammad Ali, James Brown, Bob Dylan, Little Richard, Liberace, Elton John, and Morris Day. And of course, there's tons of wrestlers on top of that would credit him as well. So we're going to move on to December 26, 2004. Reginald Howard White, or simply Reggie White, to football and wrestling fans. He died in hospital because of an irregular heartbeat. He was 43. Of course, this NFL legend has a wrestling connection. White was a member of the Lawrence Taylor All-Pro Entourage during WrestleMania 11 against Bam Bam Bigelow. And at Slamboree 97 over in WCW, White had his only professional wrestling match, which was a loss to fellow NFL alumnus Steve McMichael. On December 29, 2009, Dr. Death Steve Williams dies of throat cancer at St. Anthony Central Hospital in Denver, Colorado. He was 44. December 30th, 1998, longtime promoter Sam Munchnick died of a car accident. He was 93. Sam was a wrestling promoter who at one time was the NWA president. Just a year before his death, Munchnick made one of his last major public appearances at the WWF Bad Blood in Your House pay-per-view.
Yeah, so we'll look at the last chunk of events that happened also during this week, because, like I said at the beginning, there was a lot of Starcades and tons of title changes. So we're going to spotlight Starcade 97. That's why I watched it earlier today. But to be honest, looking through, watching it earlier, I was a lot of propaganda with the NWO and WCW thing. They threw a lot of current WCW talent into the audience to make it look like they were rooting for their side to win and everything, and it was making it that pivotal type deal. There was a lot of the guys that you just see normally on WCW Saturday night hanging out in the audience with fans and supposedly paying their ticket, but they weren't on the card. But of course, they got paid, so why not sit in the audience with fans? It's the most bought WCW event of all time, leading to Sting's return to the ring in over for a year and a half since WCW started turned on him and the NWO started taking over. And that's what fans were looking forward to the most. The event became the biggest grossing pay-per-view in WCW history. Despite its success, however, the card is seen as a pivotal downfall moment of WCW and set the tone for backstage tension and poor creativity decisions going forward. So it's almost like they built themselves up so much, got to that point where, oh my God, Sting's going to come and save us, and it was sloped down from there. Did you end up watching the show?
I watched some of the matches, both those pay-per-views we talked about today. I first watched the matches that looked the best, and then if I have time, I'll start watching the other ones. This one, I thought 93 was a lot better. Of course, the first match, Malenko against Eddie Guerrero, was pretty good. Usually on WCW pay-per-views, the first match was a lot of times the best damn match on the whole show.
And starting off usually with a cruiserweight match, and Eddie was already starting, I guess, his lie, cheat, and steal persona in a way that there, and he ended up taking advantage of Dean's injured knee and frog splashing it to retain the title. And then all of a sudden we have Scott Hall coming out, wasting time with his surveys. They don't know if Kevin Nash is going to be there because he's supposed to go against Giant, and they wasted so much time. Giant comes out and beats up Hall. Then they have a six-man tag that Conan doesn't even show up, and so then they waste time. Not that I'm complaining about watching Elizabeth coming down the aisle, but they waste so much time of Savage and Elizabeth coming down the aisle to be their third partner on the NWO team to go against the Steiners and Ray Traylor. Decent match, but I think too much time was wasted in there. And, of course, Savage picked up the victory by dropping the elbow on Big Papa Pump before he became Big Papa Pump. But he was in that transition. He had the haircut, just wasn't dyed yet, and he was growing in that goatee. So it was only a matter of time before he switched over that way. Goldberg and McMichaels. Of course, Goldberg ended up winning. It was a little bit longer match than Goldberg normally has, but he picked up the victory with the jackhammer. Raven was supposed to go against Chris Benoit, but of course, Raven's rules. He can pull himself out, and it's a no-holds-barred match anyways. So all the flock got involved, and it was Benoit versus the world, and the numbers were too much for Benoit to hold off everybody. You see Billy Kidman there, and he looks like he's homeless. And yeah, Raven did finally get in and hit the even flow, and Saturn put on the Rings of Saturn to get the victory. And interesting, though, two matches had the four radicals going against each other. The whole thing. But yeah, just a squash match in a way that way. Bagwell just became NWO, went against Luger. Meh. They could have been so much better. Hennig and DDP was a good match, I'd say. And DDP picked up his first, as Dusty was saying, I guess his first major title in wrestling, even though I thought by that time he had already been a U.S. champion, a TV champion. But if that's not a major title and the U.S. one is, so be it. But he did jump into the crowd and was doing the People's Champion side of things. Did you catch that match?
No, I didn't watch a lot of this one. I kind of ran out of time.
Oh, no problem. The seventh match was what they were putting everything on because it was supposed to be the control for Nitro, and it's Larry Zbyszko, of all people, going against Eric Bischoff in a karate versus wrestler thing, and Brett was the referee. This is a great way of using the guy who got screwed on Montreal to come in and be a referee, because he knows what bad refereeing is all about. And the lead up to it had him denouncing the NWO, but then showing up one week on Nitro in the limo of the NWO, and Bischoff thought he had Bret in his pocket, and Bret was actually siding with Eric for a lot of things and pushing Larry off, and even checking for chokes and stopping holds and really pissing people off. And then Scott Hall ended up cheating for Bischoff. Bret saw it and called for a DQ and laid out Bischoff. So WCW got to keep Nitro.
Yeah.
I think this was just basically your bathroom break.
This was terrible, terrible match. The reffing obviously was just done to tease people and make them think, oh, is Bret Hart gonna, it was just terrible. Absolutely.
He's going to be the NWO. And then, of course, the main event had Hogan come out doing the whole NWO strut. And then Sting comes from the back instead of for the ceiling. They did some sort of little laser light show looking thing to introduce Sting. But then he came out, and it was really poorly firecrackers on the entrance way just popping off, which set my dog off for a bit. Well, I had to mute it. And you had Nick Patrick was the chosen referee because couldn't trust referees, and so all of them got put into a bin, and Nick Patrick, a dirty referee from the NWO, got picked. So, oh my God, is that going to hold true again? And Bret Hart came out near the end because of the interference that was going on from the NWO. And I guess it was supposed to be a fast count by Nick Patrick, but he actually did count it properly. And instead of ringing the bell, Bret stopped it and called Nick Patrick for doing a fast count, which Nick's going, it was legit, dude, and got laid out for it. Hogan tried escaping with the title. Bret grabbed him, tossed him back in. Sting put on the Scorpion Deathlock or Sharpshooter. And got Bret to call the match, and Sting was the hero. Now WCW reigns supreme. They took the WCW US title away from the NWO. They took Nitro and retained it, and now they have the title. And everybody that was in the audience came out and supported Sting. Even Louis Spicolli was in there, and Ernest the Cat Miller and everybody. So everybody went home happy that Sting saved the day.
So overall, avoid this pay-per-view. You don't need to watch it.
Some good matches, but just watch those matches, not the whole pay-per-view. The aftermath of the whole thing, the feud continued with Sting and Hogan. It's just because Nick Patrick did count properly and videos showed that it did, they had to kind of clean things up and play around with things on Nitro going forward. Just kind of a schmoz of a ending and poor way of using Bret Hart after he was handed to you on a silver platter with the screw job.
Good going, WCW. All right, moving on. December 28, 2002, 19 years ago, Ring of Honor presented a final battle. In this one, Bryan Danielson, Low-Ki, Samoa Joe, and Steve Corino fought to a 45-minute draw to determine the number one contender for the ROH Championship. And I'd be pissed as a fan, so I just watched an amazing match that ended up not giving me a number one contender. Of course, that was the point of the match. And that, to me, was worse than a double pin in a cage match. I don't get. I mean, I know wrestling has to do something so they can carry on to the next day, but
give us a winner.
Yeah. December 29th, 1985, 36 years ago, the NWA and AWA co-presented Star Wars. December 29th, 1991, WCW's Starrcade Battle Bowl 91, the Lethal Lottery, happened. In Sting last eliminated Lex Luger to win the Battle Bowl Battle Royale. December 29th, 1995, ECW presented Holiday Hell. from the Lost Battalion Hall in Queens, New York. Obviously not lost enough because people found it. Also on December 29th, WCW presented Starcade 96. In this one, Roddy Piper defeated Hollywood Hogan via TKO in the main event, dubbed by fans as Age in the Cage. December 30th, 2007, 14 years ago today, Ring of Honor presented Final Battle from the Manhattan Center in New York. And some highlights, and then we are done for this week. Highlights December 25th, 1988. 33 years ago, a huge cleanup was underway in Century City, Los Angeles, after terrorist group led by Hans Gruber was foiled by John McCain, a Detroit police officer who was an attendee at the annual Nakatomi Corporate Christmas party at the newly constructed Nakatomi Tower. And you wonder, why the fuck is this in this? To amuse us, that's why.
Exactly. Yeah, man. And it's not Christmas until Hans falls from the building.
Yes. And there's so many holiday movies that you can refer to. It's just, a hoot. On New Year's, I always think of Poseidon Adventure. December 25th, 1985, Rocky Balboa would pull off a Christmas miracle when he beat Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. There were not many who gave the Italian stallion a chance of victory, but by the end of Christmas Day bout, chants of Rocky, Rocky could be heard around the arena in Moscow.
Though I will say, depending on which version you watch, I highly recommend getting a way to see the re-release director's cut of Rocky IV. Stallone took out the robot. He took out a lot of Polly because of the robot being there, and he took out the kid. And so that scrapped like 19 minutes of stuff. They threw in more Apollo and a little bit more Drago, made it more dramatic and more focused on the whole Drago thing, killing Apollo. Spoiler alert. And then going after Rocky in the matchup in Russia. It was more sports and drama than comedy and the other. So if you ever get a chance to check out the director's cut, do it.
All right, I will try to find that. December 26, 2009, 12 years ago, WWE signs Sharon Snuka and George Arias, or Arias, I don't know how you say that name. Daughter of WWE Hall of Famer Jimmy Superfly Snuka. And of course, she works as Tamina, while Jorge, or George, I'm not sure which, it's Jorge or George. Jorge, okay. Who went by Unico, Sin Cara, Negro, and Sin Cara. He went by a bunch of different names. December 29th, 1988, in Tokyo, Japan, Antonio Inoki defeated Riki Kushu via DQ. After the bout, Takashi Kitano introduced the newest member of his Takashi Pursuo Gundam stable, Vader, a.k.a. Leon White. Vader would destroy Antonio Inoki in 3 minutes shortly after his debut. This was a huge deal as Inoki rarely lost. A riot ensued and NJPW was banned from running events in Sumo Hall until 1989.
Just imagine the fact that rumors, if not, or I think it was substantiated, that originally Vader, because they were cartoon characters in Japan, was supposed to be James Hellwig instead of Leon White.
Yeah,
where things would have gone had Hellwig been available and done that as opposed to what Leon did.
Honestly, I don't think it would have gone very far.
No, Leon was the right choice.
Absolutely. December 28th, 1998. on Nitro, Ric Flair defeated Eric Bischoff in a return match from the previous night's Starcade to become the WCW president for 90 days. Had Flair lost, he would have been forced to retire again for the umpteenth time. On the same show, Scott Steiner defeated Conan to win the WCW World TV Championship. And to wrap it all in a bow, December 28th, 12 years ago today, on Raw, Vince McMahon officially announced Bret Hart would guest host the January 4th, 2010 edition of Raw. And that is it for this week in wrestling. Another look back. Of course, this is all compiled from the vast land of Google, Wikipedia, CageSideSeats.com, and most importantly, from the fans and journalists that had front row seats to history. And a big thank you, of course, to our sponsor Coolbet, Coolbet.com, and sportsbook betting and casino games. Stay cool and bet responsibly. And as always, like to say thanks to our Johners listeners, and a hello out there to Sam, who listens to us out in Australia. Thank you so much for listening to us. And there you go. That's it for this week.
Yeah, it's great to know we're in other areas of the world, not just in the northern hemisphere of the Earth. We're now in...
We are everywhere. There's at least one person that listens to us in every major country.
That's awesome.
And I'm good enough with that.
Yeah, same here. We do it for the fun of it, not for the fame. If the fame comes, great. I'll take it. But we're having fun. We're wrestling fans, and you can always get in touch with us on any of our platforms on social media, and reach out and share your thoughts and memories as well. And we'll include it, just like Chris just did a shout out. We'll give you a shout out, and also, share your thoughts and memories as well. One thing I also want to add for next week's as well is the fact that we said on that December 28th, 2009 edition of Raw, Vince said that Bret was going to guest host the January 4th Raw. It's not part of a Monday Night Wars because there was no war, but we're going to look at what happened that day with the fact that Shawn and Bret had never encountered each other beforehand after all of the animosity that went on, and everything went down that day. And we'll look at what happened actually that day as part of our look back in history next week.
And of course, earlier we talked about Bob Backlund and that asterisk of his long championship run. And I couldn't remember. Of course, now I do. Antonio Inoki was the one that I believe that he lost the title to, but then yada, yada, yada. And WWE never recognized it. So
yeah, title changes on other people's soil, but as soon as they come back, oh, no, that didn't happen. Go figure. But yeah, so thank you, Chris. We'll look forward to our next edition of this next week. And I hope everybody has a great and safe New Year's. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll be back here in 2022. Have a good one.